Hey film fans, welcome to Cine Pro, your ultimate hub for all movie recaps. From heartwarming classics to the latest blockbusters. The film begins with a young man named Greg and his friend Hesser as they head to the marina to go on a sea trip. It turns out they are on a tourist trip to the city and want to rent a boat to dive in the water and watch the sharks. As soon as they arrive, they meet an old man named Dave, who tells them he is a friend of Ticker, the owner of the boat they want to rent. They are surprised when Dave warns them about trips like this, telling them that a young man who went on this trip before them was bitten by a shark and died. Suddenly, Ticker, the boat owner, arrives, greets them, and asks if anyone knows they've come here. They tell him they're just visiting the city as tourists and that they're taking this trip without anyone knowing. They're surprised when Ticker tells them that's the best thing they've done. He then takes them onto the boat and they set off to sea. Ticker tells them about the shark that bit him when he was young and shows them a big scar on his back. Hesser feels sympathy for him and asks if there's anyone in his life, to which he replies that he's always lived alone. After some time, they reach a certain spot in the sea where Ticker throws shark bait into the water to attract sharks around the boat. Greg notices that Hesser is nervous and afraid to get into the water, but Ticker keeps talking to her and has her do breathing exercises until she calms down. Then he puts them in an iron cage and lowers them into the water, which is full of sharks. This makes Hesser scared and she breathes with difficulty, but Greg holds her hand and reassures her until she relaxes and starts to enjoy the view. After some time, they get back on the boat, happy and telling Ticker it was an enjoyable experience. Suddenly, Ticker pulls a dagger from his pocket and stabs Greg, throwing him into the water. He then gives Hesser a terrifying look and welcomes her to the boat. Hesser is terrified by what happened and starts screaming. Elsewhere, we see a girl named Zafi coming out of the supermarket. When she gets to her car, she meets a young man named Moss, who asks her for a jump start for his car battery since it's dead. Zafi agrees and goes with him to his car. On the way, they get to know each other. Moss is a real estate agent, while Zafi is a traveler who moves between cities, lives in her car and has neither a house nor family. When they reach the car, Zafi finds out that Moss likes surfing like her and it's clear there's a mutual attraction. They go to Moss's house, spend the evening together, and Moss seems happy to have Zafi with him. He goes to prepare food so they can have dinner together, but after he prepares the food, he is surprised to find that Zafi has left. While on her way, Zafi notices that the waves are very high, so she decides to go surfing, her favorite sport, but she realizes she forgot the key to her swimming gear box. She looks around and sees a truck parked in front of her, so she heads towards it to look for something to open the box. Suddenly, Ticker appears and gives her a key she can use to open the box. He asks why she came alone, and she tells him she is always alone and has no one. He wishes her a good time and leaves. Afterwards, she receives a message from Moss asking where she is. She tells him she is at the beach and will go into the water. He asks if he can join her. She thinks for a while and tells him that the sea is open to everyone. Suddenly, Ticker comes from behind her and chokes her until she passes out. He then puts tape over her mouth, takes her in his car and brings her to the boat. The next day, Moss arrives at the place where Zafi was, but is surprised to find her missing with no trace. He says he only met her 12 hours ago, so he is told he can't file a report but is asked to describe her. He is promised that her description will be circulated, and she will be searched for. The next day, Zafi wakes up to find herself handcuffed to a bed. She is shocked, afraid, and screams. She is surprised to find Hesser handcuffed to the bed next to her. Hesser tells her they have been kidnapped, that the boat owner is Ticker, and that he is mentally disturbed. She tells her that he killed her friend in a horrific way in front of her. While talking, Zafi tries to find something to unlock the handcuffs and finds a thin wire she can use. Unfortunately, Ticker enters with food and water. They take the water and drink it all because it is very hot. As soon as Ticker leaves the room, Hesser faints. Zafi tries to unlock the handcuffs quickly but feels dizzy. Suddenly, Ticker enters and tells her she will lose consciousness soon, revealing he put drugs in the water they drank. He sees the wire with Zafi, takes it from her, and tells her he likes prey that resists. Before Zafi can respond, she faints. After a while, she wakes up to find herself handcuffed to a chair on the deck of the boat. Next to her, Hesser is handcuffed on the ground. Ticker stands behind her with a camera pointed at the sea. He then goes to Hesser, cuts a lock of her hair and turns on the winch that Hesser is tied to, raising her above the water full of sharks and slowly lowering her into it as she screams in terror. Zafi also screams, begging him not to lower her into the water, but Ticker ignores her and starts filming Hesser as the sharks eat her. He then points the camera at Zafi, filming her as she is terrified and crying. After Hesser dies, Ticker takes Zafi and locks her in a room, then goes to celebrate what he did, drinking and dancing in a strange way. When he finishes, he holds the lock of hair he took from Hesser. He puts it in a box along with the videotape he recorded, then places the tape in a cupboard filled with videotapes, similar to his. The next day, Taker enters Zafi's room and gives her food, but she kicks it away and tells him he's a sick man. Her words have no effect on him, and he tells her that he's obsessed with sharks and must keep feeding her. He leaves the room. At that moment, Zafi notices the bucket in front of her on the floor. She breaks off the bucket's handle and makes a sharp tool out of it. After a while, Taker returns with a syringe filled with sedative and approaches Zafi while she's lying down to inject her. But Zafi tricks him and stabs him in the neck with the bucket handle. Taker falls, hitting his head on the bed behind him and loses consciousness. Zafi quickly takes the handcuff key from him and frees herself. When she approaches him to take the knife, she's surprised when he wakes up and grabs her hands. She hits him and runs out of the room. Taker chases her before she can lock him in, but she escapes quickly and runs up the stairs to the boat's deck. Taker runs after her and manages to inject her with the sedative, but she hits him again and keeps going until she reaches the control cabin. There, she tries to contact the Coast Guard for help, but discovers the radio is broken. She notices a nearby ship and starts shouting at the top of her lungs. The sedative starts to take effect. She feels dizzy, but keeps shouting with all her strength until she loses consciousness. Taker drags her back to the boat with his hook. The next day, we see the rescue teams searching for Zafi. Mose keeps thinking about how he can find her. Suddenly, he gets an idea and opens a special app for surfers. We learn that this app tracks wave movement on all beaches to help surfers know when the waves are high. Mose sees Zafi's car passing by on the road, followed by Taker's car in the opposite direction. He searches the internet for Taker's company, from the car logo, and finds out Taker rents his boat for sea trips. Mose calls him to ask if he saw Zafi the previous night, but the phone is off. He decides to go to the marina to meet Taker in person. At the same time, Taker returns to the marina, gets off the boat angry, ignores Dave who tries to talk to him, and goes to buy a new camera to replace the one Zafi threw. Meanwhile, Mose arrives at Taker's boat and knocks on the control cabin door, but no one answers. He decides to leave, but hears a sound coming from below deck. He puts his ear to the floor and hears Zafi trying to free herself from the handcuffs. He breaks the glass of the door and follows the sound until he opens the room and is shocked to find Zafi in front of him. As soon as he removes the tape from her mouth, she tells him she's been kidnapped and asks him to call the police quickly. Mose goes up to the deck to get a signal and call the police, but suddenly Taker appears and knocks him down. Mose tries to defend himself and call the police at the same time, but fails because Taker drags him away from the phone and ends the call. Taker then approaches Mose to hit him, but Mose surprises him with a strong punch and knocks him down, trying to strangle him and nearly killing him. Suddenly, Dave enters and hits Mose on the head, knocking him out. Dave then hears Zafi screaming for help. Before he can understand what's happening, Taker hits Dave on the head with the hook, killing him. After all this, Mose wakes up to find himself tied to the bed next to Zafi. She asks if he managed to call the police. He apologizes and says he didn't make it. She thanks him for trying to help. Taker enters and sedates them both. When they wake up, they find themselves tied up on the boat's deck. Taker cuts a lock of Mose's hair and keeps it, then lifts them with the winch to lower them into the sea for the sharks to eat. Mose panics when he sees the sharks below and screams loudly, but Zafi tells him to calm down and not move so the sharks won't attack. Mose follows her advice and stays still. The sharks pass by him without touching him. Taker gets frustrated and stabs Mose with a knife to make him bleed so the sharks will smell the blood and attack. Suddenly, Taker stops the winch before Mose goes into the water, having heard a plane approach. He quickly takes Zafi and Mose back to the room and watches the plane until it flies away. At the same time, Zafi looks at the unconscious Mose, feeling sad and guilty because she believes it's her fault. She decides to break her finger to get her hands out of the handcuffs and free herself. But when she tries to get her hands out, she still can't, so she bites her fingers hard until she cuts it. Then comes to sedate Zafi, but he is surprised when he finds her bed empty and Zafi appears from behind the door and quickly exits the room and closes the door on him. So Taker quickly moves and tries to open the window to escape. Meanwhile, Zafi reaches the control cabin and tries to start the boat and return to shore, but Taker has already left the room and disconnected the boat's power panel. Zafi feels hopeless about escaping. Suddenly, she notices a nearby island. She quickly grabs a flare to light and send a distress signal. At that moment, Taker comes from behind to catch her, but she throws the flare at him. Unfortunately, it misses. She quickly goes to hide in the kitchen, grabs a pan to break the kitchen window and escape, but her clothes get stuck in the window. Taker reaches her, pulls her down forcefully and attacks her with the knife. Zafy hits him hard with the pan and stabs him in the hand with the knife, then jumps into the water and swims quickly toward the island. Taker takes the boat and chases after her, catching her on the shore, putting his hand over her mouth so no one hears her and suffocating her until she faints. After a while, Zafy wakes up to find herself hanging from the winch, while Mos is handcuffed to a chair, clearly worried about Zafy but unable to do anything. Suddenly, a huge shark appears in the water. Taker gets excited and says this is the show he's always wanted. He goes to the winch controls and lowers Zafy into the water. Zafy tries to overcome her fear and calm herself. Taker films her with the camera. As soon as the shark approaches Zafy, she kicks it away. Taker gets angry, grabs the spear and attacks the shark to provoke it to eat Zafy. But the shark grabs the spear from Taker and throws it into the water. So Zafy takes the spear and gets ready to defend herself in case the shark attacks her. But the shark dives into the water and disappears. Zafy seizes the opportunity, hooks the spear onto the winch hook, then climbs the spear to reach the hook and free herself. At that moment, Taker films her, enjoying the suffering and torment she is in, but he is shocked when Zafy cuts the rope and falls into the water. Suddenly, she finds herself face to face with the huge shark, so she stands still and doesn't move at all until the shark passes by her without attacking. After that, she manages to get back onto the boat and sees Taker looking for her in the water. As soon as he discovers she is standing behind him, she shoots him with an arrow in the chest. Taker falls into the water and tries to get up quickly to return to the boat before the shark eats him. But the shark suddenly jumps out of the water, grabs Taker and leaps upward in a terrifying scene. Then it returns to the water after having split Taker's body in two. At that moment, Zafy films Taker just as he filmed his victims. The shark comes and drags the other half of Taker's body away, but the rope gets wrapped around Zafy's leg and pulls her into the water. Mos watches anxiously and keeps calling for Zafy until he faints. Moments later, Zafy emerges from the water, having managed to free herself, and finds Taker's body in front of her. She moves away from it and quickly returns to the boat. As soon as she arrives, she tries to wake Mos up but to no avail. Then she sees a passing boat in front of them. She quickly lights a flare, stands on top of the boat and keeps signaling to the other boat to come rescue them. Fortunately, the captain of the boat sees her and heads toward her. Zafy returns to Mos and tries to wake him up, begging him to stay alive because she loves him. At that moment, Mos wakes up and tells her he loves her too, and the movie ends. If you liked today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to receive all new updates. See you in the next video. Goodbye.